meant him. You blocked me again, which is annoying. Can't you just control your emotions on that? I mean, because all it means is that I wouldn't have seen these videos. I only happened to see it because I was screwing around in Insight and I followed a link of where some views had come to this video. You make a video on me and on my video, and I can't reply to the comment. There's just, fine. You will see a video response probably, but am I supposed to make video responses to all these commenters? Okay. For example, the suicidal optimist. Could you please tell, since he's not going to see my video probably, could you please tell him in response to his comment, people like Piero talk incessantly about some higher truth but never take the time out to explain it to us. Their higher truth, I suspect, is to deny the real truth, as it is pretty unpleasant. Of course, religion facilitates this delusion beautifully. Okay, suicidal optimist. You're not talking about me. You're talking about some straw man in your mind that's talking incessantly without taking time. I take, obviously, plenty of time out to explain this so-called higher truth. And I don't necessarily call it higher except for as, spatial abstraction, somewhat arbitrarily. But the truth that I'm basing these ideas on is survival. That I happen to look out at all the living things and notice they have the desire to survive, and the fight to survive is present in all of them. So I'm using that as a clue. So I've taken my time out and I've just told you that's what it all comes from, survival. And the so-called more enlightened ideas where you aren't so selfish about your survival is just where you're thinking of things like the survival of your family, or other groups, or even the whole biosphere. And the reason we have urges to do that are the same reasons we have the urges to eat and procreate and everything else that the DNA starts us off with. It's because it's in the DNA's best interest of survival for us to work together sometimes as well. Sometimes to work, at pretty opposing ends, like prey and predator. But definitely also sometimes cooperation, for example, with your family. You really went off the deep end in this one, Gary, and I don't mean the whole, grow a brain, fucktard kind of stuff, whatever you say, because I don't even hear that. You might as well be going, it's just filler to me. That means nothing. I mean, you went off the deep end in ideas, because, okay, first of all, you're going to tell me this is all because I have decided that life is worthwhile. And then it is add to some further purpose. You could call it higher, you could call it whatever, but basically it's the fact that living is good, ultimately. And in a way it's neither good nor bad, but see, we have enough of the good part. You can stay away from enough of the bad part that you can make life a net good for yourself. Okay? And I don't mean just for yourself as a human, I mean for yourself as humanity. Like the bad part of dying in a snowstorm. I mean, we can protect humanity from that. It'll still go on. It'll still be bugs and some animals unprotected from the ravages of those storms. And the net total could be said to be, I doubt it would be negative. I'm sort of more of the school of thought that says it might all add up to zero. But we, with our free will, can take positive sums out of that total. We don't experience the whole universe, so we aren't stuck being a sum total of zero. Okay, and I don't even think that as a species we're stuck with a sum total of zero. I think that's ridiculous. We can all survive together pretty damn well. Okay, you disagree. Whatever. I'm using survival as the basis of these values here. And I'm still not telling you have to have the values. You want to blame me for, well, what about people that don't think life is all worth living and you're going to condemn them? No, I'm not condemning them. They can build a virtual reality. I'm just saying that I don't want to be a part of that. I don't want my taxes or my effort or anything or cooperation going into building, a virtual reality for someone like Adolf Hitler. And, that's an example you've used, that he could do his Holocaust stuff in a virtual reality. That'd be fine. No, I don't want to make fantasy lands for crazy knuckleheads and then fool them into thinking it's reality so that they live these lives that confirm all of their bigotries as being powerful. If I did make a game for where you could pretend to be Adolf Hitler, you'd end up burning in a ditch at the end just like he did, setting yourself on fire with your new bride. And because that's what ought to happen to someone like him. He shouldn't be extended this protection by whom? By whomever the builders of the system are and maintain it and spend that for that. I'm not into that. I don't want to make those kinds of fancy fantasy worlds for them. There's nothing. So what, they get their gratification? I don't care. I believe gratification in the real world leads to ramifications where you get more sophisticated, gratifications. You see it all the time. Somebody, when they're young, they like some thrill, they have a few spills, and maybe they still even appreciate it, but they don't like it so much. They stop doing it. It takes a certain cost, and you evaluate, because of the feedback. And video games are fun, and it's cathartic, and it's like a lot of things we take control. It's like, pain is there to help us survive. So when you're hurt, yet you might get really hurt and you don't even feel the pain right away because your body needs to be able to get time to get out of the situation that's causing you damage. And the next day it's going to throb and it's going to hurt. But we can also use pain pills and take conscious control of that. And VR is like that. It's like taking conscious control of a fantasy and just having a great fantasy. But the key to that is that that it's a fantasy, that you not be fooled into your delusion, which makes you insane, of thinking it's reality. Or of thinking that somehow the real reality doesn't count anymore, that you're finally separate enough that you've invented metaphysics. The VR thing's kind of like trying to invent metaphysics. As far as ideas becoming more sophisticated, as far as base desires becoming more sophisticated, I'll describe again. It's not so that you will agree, but so you maybe at least can understand what I'm trying to tell you. When you start off having hunger, it's just so that you can eat. You end up eating. But as you learn that, it's there because we're animals with this genetic blueprint and it's built into us so that we'll find food because we need nutrition, then you can study nutrition and you can find out that this urge to feed ourselves is not 100% the best we can think of. We can improve it in terms of actually getting good nutrition, and we find out we could go on diets, we can change what we eat to more nutritious things, and our desires even change. You might eat oatmeal at first because it's good for your cholesterol, and after a year, you acquire that taste. There's such a thing as an acquired taste because we can use our intellect to improve and get a higher understanding of a million things that affect us directly. My urge to procreate, which you try to make, not that I want to have kids. I have kids. I want them now. Whatever. I'm going to own up to that. I think there's an urge to that, but maybe it's just the lust to have sex, and then you end up with kids. Whatever. They all add up to the same thing. In the end, I can expand it to include the idea of I like having kids. I want to have people in the world. Hopefully want to make the world a better place and have a good life and make the society as healthy as I think it can be, and have a chance to live, a chance to survive. And while understanding greater and greater, other people have these urges because we share them. I see that it comes to me through the DNA. I see that it goes to them through the DNA. It all inspires me to share a perspective, and I'm just calling that, more enlightened. Why? Just because I think it's more enlightened? Yeah, but not without explaining why it's enlightened. It's all survival. That's what I said. It's individual survival, and it's group survival, and it's the survival of the planet. We don't really want to nuke the whole planet. We want the planet to survive. And if we did nuke it, some part would survive, but we'd like it to be healthy and have something that would be pleasant to our standards. And that's the thing. Ultimately, survival becomes a personal standard. Once you have bare survival, you have higher standards for your survival, like you like art, or you want to have time to be creative, or whatever you think you want to arrange. And it becomes a matter of personal taste, because these personal tastes are all traced back to biological urges that we have to aid survival. So yeah, I think we can agree that it's about surviving.